Hello, my name is Katie, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with our Fatherhood Support Specialist, Reginald, as well as one of our fathers who have gone through the Fatherhood program, Mr. Terrence. And we are so excited to have them today and learn a little bit more about their journey through fatherhood. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. So, Mr. Terrence, I understand that you have 2 children. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you became involved with the child welfare system.
I got 2 girls and a son. They're all teenagers.
Okay.
I'm originally from New York, and the mother and I split up. She moved from New York to Florida, chasing after another guy. And make a long story short, she was down here about a year and a half, and she passed away from. She had surgery, and she passed away from the surgery. And at that time, I was living alone, renting a room, off of my Social Security, And when my daughters was wondering, what I was going to do to try to get them back to New York, I didn't know I didn't have the finances. Right. So I contacted their aunt, and she suggested that the kids come be sent to her. So, to make a long story short, after they did a thorough investigation on my sister's background, she was denied because she had a son that was involved with drugs. So by that time, almost a year had been by, and I realized that this is a procedural clock. And I'm like, wow, okay, so my sister was denied, and let me contact the agency and find out what my status is. And to make a long story short, they said the procedural clock was running out on my part, and that the kids would be put up for adoption. So I went to my younger brother, who had just got a lawsuit, and to make a long story short, he gave me the money to come, to Florida from New York. And I packed up what I could in a suitcase and a backpack, and I gave everything else away. I took the plane here from New York. I stayed at Talbot House. Matter of fact, I had contacted them before I left New York, and they said, okay, we have a place for you. And when I got here, one of the first things I got to do was to spend the day with my kids, which I hadn't seen actually in about 2 years. And after we had that initial meeting, they said, okay, but now you have to, get yourself situated. You got to apply for housing. Right. We're going to get you into court so we could put a stop on the procedural clock as far as losing custody of your kids. And we will bring the kids to meet you anywhere you want, at least once a week until you get housing. And I went back to Talbot House, and I spoke to different people there, and they was telling me that okay, well, you could apply for Section 8. They gave me the directions, the location. I went and I filed for the Section 8. Wow, it was a journey. It took me about 10 months, and during that 10 months staying at Talbot House, you have to leave 5:30 in the morning. Right. And you can't leave none of your property there. So I was dragging my suitcase and my backpack everywhere I went, all around Lakeland. I don't even know Lakeland, but I learned about Munn Park. Yeah. I would go to Munn Park in the morning, get on a bench, and go back to sleep for a while. But I did that for months, rain or shine, knowing that I have a purpose. Wow. I'm doing this for my kids, I'm doing this for my kids. Believe me, when I left New York and came to Florida, I had no idea, what I was doing and what I was getting into. But I did know this. My focus was my children. I'm all they have.
Right. It sounds like your journey has been one for the books, but it also sounds like there's a string of resilience and hope in that. Your brother came through and helped you get down here. Talbot House was a safe place for you to go to for a while. You internally understanding that you need to be there for your kids all played a part in that support. Yes. So, Reginald, tell us a little bit about how you became involved with him and how you continue to show some support for him and his family.
Well, I got involved. I was with working for one of the CMOs, and somebody sent me an email saying, "Hey, we got a guy that you might, be able to help out." And so I said, "Okay." I got his name and number, and I gave him a call. I looked the file up in Fishfin to see what was going on. I was reading. I'm like, "Well, he seemed to be doing okay. I don't really see too much I could do." But then I started reading about it. I said, okay, 2 kids. I said, okay, the mother passed. So, okay, let me go on over here. So one day, I called him. I didn't even call him. I was by I remember the address, and I remember riding down over here in Bartow, and I remember the street, and I said, wait, I'm over here by the jails, over here by, on this side of town. So I said, let me just stop by. And I said, well, no, I'll just do it tomorrow. Then someone told me, said, no, go ahead and stop by 9. And I went on, pulled up to his house, I knocked on the door, and he opened the door and looked at me. He said, man, I had a feeling somebody was going to come by here today.
Wow.
And that's what he told me. He said, man, I just had a weird feeling that somebody was going to come to this house today. And he said he opened the door and it was me.
Wow.
And that's how I met him, and that's how we start. I started working, and we got to know each other pretty good over the years. And he can tell you a little bit more about that day when I stopped by, because I could see it on his face that he was. I could see it in his face that he was very happy that that somebody came by to try to see if they can help him.
Yeah. So it sounds like you got some wonderful supports, and got some supports with your children from Reginald. But tell us about that moment when you did get a chance to have your kids come into your care, and then the support that you got from Reginald after you met him.
Wow. First thing was that I was grateful that I got approved for the Section 8, and I searched out the home. 2 choices. I picked up the one in Bartow. And the day Reginald knocked on my door, he had said, I had a feeling somebody was coming, didn't know who. And when I answered the door, I was overwhelmed with joy, because I realized that sometimes my spiritual beliefs, they do come true. And he immediately clicked, and he explained himself to me. And he took a walk through my home, and at that time I was sleeping on my suitcase, the clothes out of my suitcase, and on my backpack as a pillow. And he said, listen, I got you. He explained the situation as far as the organization he was involved in. And he made a list, man. We made a list. He had put stuff on a list that I wasn't even thinking about, like a toaster, a microwave. But to make a long story short, within weeks, the stuff was being delivered. Different resources that he had plugged in with were bringing me beds and dressers and pots and pans, little carpets, area rugs. Mm-hmm. And again, I was impressed but grateful. It's been more than 2 years now that I've been at the same address. Matter of fact, my lease is due now for renewal. But again, he's been a blessing in my life. He's like my he's like an uncle. He's become part of my life and my family.
Yeah, fairy godfather.
Yes, indeed. He's blessed me with it's not just his friendship, but the resources, like we're actually doing right now. I find a lot of reasons to be grateful for him. And my kids are too. Believe me, my daughter is impressed with him. My son, he's a teenager. Boy, he's like, Dad, can I go with y'all to this? No, we got a special meeting this morning.
Yeah.
But
so tell us a little bit about the resources that you were connected with.
Well, my main resource has always been Reginald, and he reaches out to the different organizations and gives them my information. And again, it's like when he knocked on the door, they knocked on the door and explained why he was here and what they had to offer. And they were delivering, like the furniture, the beds, the dressers. Oh my gosh, it happened so quickly that it's hard to believe it's been more than 2 years. And my house is my cup runneth over with resources.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, listen, the kids' bedrooms are loaded, cabinets and food. We are overwhelmed with the joys and the blessings that have come through this main resource. This is my main resource right here.
Oh.
I don't get food stamps and like that. I'm living off of Social Security. He's been my main resource, and he has kept us well above water.
Wow. So Reginald, tell us a little bit about the ongoing support. It sounds like you have made an impact on this family's life, but it's been 2 years and you still continue to be a part of their life. So tell us a little bit about your weekly interactions with them, or what do you do to continue to help support this dad and his children?
I mean, just doing the Fatherhood program, just checking on him once or twice a week, once or twice a month, making sure he has what he needs. And if I can't, he'll call me and say, hey, man, Rich, I need this right here. And then one thing about doing this type of work, it's hard to find out what's all out there.
Right.
And that's why as soon as I started working with Heartland, I just start getting a list. Trying every time I come across a new resource, I write it down to make sure I got it. Then I found a resource here in Bartow, on the Bartow Service Center. I said, Terrence, man, go over here. They plug in the food to get hot meals every day. but it's just good to know what's all out there so you can tell him exactly what where to go. We got food here on Wednesday on this day. You got a pantry over here on Tuesday on this day. I can get if you needed beds and stuff for bedding, pots and pans, whatever. Back to the Bartow Service Center. But just knowing exactly where those places are and plugging those resources into the client, that's very important. It's very important because sometimes he'll call me. One day he called me and like, I'm a little short here and I'm trying to figure out what can I do. Ran to some pantry, got some food. Come over here. I went and got a gift card from Heartland, or a gift card from Neighbor Family. When he picked him up, took him to the Publix, got the food, and just being able to, for guys, it's hard for guys to do this.
Yeah.
But just being able to help him,
it's
awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, it sounds like you definitely have a passion for help then. Let me ask you, for a dad who may be in a similar situation, who doesn't know where to turn to, and may not have a Reginald in their life, what advice would you give to that dad?
Wow. Again, I can only say that looking into the resources that are available is one thing, but when it came to availability, I didn't know what resources were available to me. He actually came and knocked on my door, and that was a blessing. Proof of it is that we're still associated to this day, and I believe as long as I'm here in Florida, we are always going to be friends and associates and whatnot. I would hope to have him over for a barbecue one day, But other than that, I can only say that this blessing in disguise was this one resource that I've had, and he exposed me to many more. So I believe he can explain the resources better than I could.
So really connecting and finding a community and supports was important to your journey.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Reginald, I know this is the career that you have, but it also sounds like it's a passion for you. So tell us how important it is for you to be able to be that light and that resource for dads.
I mean, when I started out as a case manager over in Hillsborough County, working with these families, the mothers and the fathers, and I really didn't work that much with the fathers. It was mainly the mother trying to get the kids back to the mother. As being a father myself, I always thought about, man, I know these guys feel the same way I feel. And that's why, and I did that for a while, and I saw that I really couldn't do that much for that father. Maybe try to get him to work a case plan or try to go get a drug test, and that was pretty much all that I could do with him. So when I came across, this fatherhood position, and reading this description and what's the purpose of that position, it was mind blowing. I couldn't believe that somebody's going to pay me to go and talk to fathers about being a father. That was just because that was awesome. Nobody taught me how to be a father. I had to see it from my father. And so just talking to these guys, trying to say, look, man, you can do this. There's no playbook. There's no right and wrong. You're going to make mistakes. I made mistakes. You just look at me. I haven't always been right here where I am.
Right.
We all make mistakes.
Right.
But we got to have an avenue toward getting to some point where we are a good role model. We're a father figure. You don't have to be your own kids.
Right.
As long as you're in that role, you could be a father figure. And having the tools, because one thing about those guys, it's hard for us to go and ask for information. But being able to give this information to guys, to fathers, and give them resources on how to do stuff, and be able to talk to another guy about stuff that we don't talk about. That's one of the main things that I really love about it, and how I could show a father, look, man, you could get back to even where you were, or you can get to a point that you've never been to before. But it's just a process and things that we could do, and the resources, and just having the information and being able to talk to somebody sometimes makes a big difference.
So every year we have an opportunity to celebrate dads on Father's Day. But every day is Father's Day for you guys because you're both fathers. So tell us, what does it mean for you today with your children in your home, with you being in a better place and having that support? What does fatherhood mean to you today?
Wow. It's one of the greatest things to go to sleep with and to wake up to every morning. One of the things that I didn't do as a child growing up was to say to my dad, I love you, and give him hugs. But with my kids, I get them every day. Every day, Daddy, I love you. Dad, can I have a hug? I get that every day. Every day. So that tells me, from their response to me, that I'm doing something right. Though I find that sometimes I think that, what can I do to make things a little better for us? Hearing them say, Daddy, I love you, and asking for that hug on a daily basis. Not a day goes by. Sometimes I get hugs from my kids 2 or 3 times a day. And I sit there and I wonder, why are they hugging like this? Remember my oldest daughter, she's 18. She says, Dad, one of the reasons why I hug you because I don't know when it might be the last hug. That hit me in my heart. Of course, she said that when her mom passed, she was mad at her mom. They was arguing, and she didn't get to say that she loves you, or give her mother a hug before she passed. But with me, these kids, they represent the respect that I'm raising them by, and they're giving it back to me. And that's one of the greatest things I can ask for. That's it. Yes.
Well, on that note, we thank you so much for being a father. We thank you so much for your openness. And Reginald, we thank you so much for your passion and compassion towards making sure that fathers are in a better place and they are recognized and honored and supported. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It was a long journey from New York, but it was worth it, and it was a journey with purpose.
Yes, it is.